Clean water is essential for life. Often overlooked, abundant rivers have been a key contributor to North Carolina's economy and quality of life, used for energy generation, drinking, and recreation. Although the Catawba River Basin plays an integral role in the life of many Carolinians, multiple human activities threaten the river.
In 2007 and 2008, the Catawba River Basin was faced with the worst drought in recent years. The lack of rain was compounded by reckless usage of water from the Catawba River, which makes us more vulnerable to the consequences of drought. As North Carolina's population swells by an estimated 2 million people over the next 15 years, many communities will face tough choices about water use. Based upon current trends, we could run out of water within the next 30 years during normal years, not just during droughts. A few sensible changes now in the way we manage water can go a long way to ensure we maintain a strong economy and healthy environment.
Interbasin transfer also threatens the health and volume of the Catawba River. For the last 3 years, the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation rallied the Catawba River Basin to unite and strongly oppose the Concord-Kannapolis interbasin transfer. Record-setting attendance at public meetings successfully reduced the amount of transfer to less than half the amount originally requested. Although the amount of water being transferred was reduced, many of the same consequences will still occur. In the Catawba River Basin, downstream communities and aquatic life will have less water. Water pollution will become more concentrated, and upstream reservoirs will be drawn down to meet the new demands. The Yadkin River Basin will be affected with an increase in point source pollution, promoted sprawl in an area that would not otherwise have the water resources to facilitate high growth, and an increase in runoff pollution from the resultant sprawl. The NC Environmental Management Commission's decision to approve the diversion of water was based on faulty environmental studies and errors of procedure. Therefore, the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation has appealed the decision and continues to comment.
The rapid growth of Charlotte is the biggest threat to the river. Many of our water quality problems are the result of poor development practices due to outdated zoning regulations and building codes. During big rains, massive amounts of sediment will wash into the river from construction sites that are not properly maintained. Sediment carried by stormwater runoff from construction sites has been documented as a leading source of non-point pollution to rivers throughout the region, including the Catawba River. The sediment can suffocate fish and bury their habitats, as well as block light from reaching aquatic plants. Additionally, the lack of vegetation at these sites facilitates the runoff of chemicals and heavy metals into the storm drains that deposit water directly into the river. The Catawba Riverkeeper works with other waterkeepers in North Carolina and South Carolina to address this problem. The Muddy Water Watch project is an initiative to reduce stormwater runoff from construction sites by providing training workshops and materials developed specifically for citizens on the legal requirements associated with construction activity. Volunteers are trained to properly identify sedimentation and erosion violations from active construction sites, as well as poorly maintained best management practices.
Faulty septic tanks and sewage accidents cause major harm to the people and animals that use the river. Due to fecal chloroform, contamination, and other pollutants, 84% of streams in Mecklenburg County are not considered safe for children to swim in. At one point, mechanical failures of sewage collection systems and intentional discharge of raw sewage caused 6 areas to be closed for swimming on Lake Norman, Lake Wiley, and Lake Davidson. Sewage also drastically affects aquatic life because it causes an increase in nutrients. The resultant algal blooms decrease the oxygen in the water. Many fish and other organisms cannot survive in these conditions.
The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is in the process of determining whether and under what conditions to issue a new license to Duke Energy to operate the dams on the Catawba River. It is likely that the duration of the license will be for 50 years, so it is essential that the license include provisions adequate to address any threats to the Catawba River within that time frame. The Catawba Riverkeeper is actively involved in commenting on the proposed license to ensure that the river will be protected for the years to come.
The chemicals and minerals that deposit through rain in the Catawba River drastically affect the people and animals who use the water. Wilson Creek, South Fork, and Lake Wiley are all now too acidic due to acid rain. Mercury deposition also causes huge issues for human health. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services recently estimated that at least 13,677 children per year are born in North Carolina with blood mercury levels that place them at risk for lifelong learning disabilities fine motor and attention deficits, and lowered IQ. Mercury levels in fish have already resulted in statewide fish advisories in North Carolina and South Carolina. Coal-fired power plants are the largest source of mercury emissions in the Carolinas. Duke is proposing to build a new coal-fired unit at its Cliffside steam station. A large portion of the mercury emissions from this facility will precipitate out of the atmosphere into the Catawba River. In addition, mining for coal has buried or polluted 1,200 miles of pristine headwater streams in the Appalachians. Duke Energy's proposed Cliffside power plant would exacerbate the issues associated with coal mining. The Catawba Riverkeeper is currently contesting the failure of the proposed permit for the Cliffside power plant to require compliance with the EPA's Maximum Achievable Control Technology standards for mercury.
Many of these energy plants store the ash and other byproducts from coal combustion in giant ash ponds. Coal ash contains many toxic heavy metals such as arsenic, lead, mercury, beryllium, cadmium, and selenium. Unlined coal ash ponds pose a threat to the Catawba River with daily untreated discharges into the river. Fish and other wildlife are threatened by toxins from these discharges that accumulate in their environment. Unlined ash ponds can also contaminate groundwater supplies, which can be a risk to health to anyone drinking from nearby wells. A recent assessment by the United States Environmental Protection Agency found that at least 23 states, including North and South Carolina, have poisoned their surface or groundwater supplies from improper disposal of coal ash. In the wake of the recent TVA coal ash disaster, we should not forget that these ash ponds also pose a threat of massive and catastrophic contamination in the event of a natural disaster or dike failure. There are 3 coal-fired power plants along the banks of the Catawba: Marshall Steam Station on Lake Norman, Riverbend Steam Station on Mountain Island Lake, and Allen Steam Station on Lake Wylie. The Riverbend Steam Station, located on Mountain Island Lake, has 2 ash ponds designated by the EPA as high hazard. These high hazard ponds are located on the same water that is the primary source of drinking water for approximately 750,000 people. While these 3 facilities generate a substantial percentage of the electricity for our rapidly growing region, it is critical that we remain aware of the dangers that they pose to our river. Every day, contaminated water from the ash pond enters directly into our drinking water supply and into the environment of countless wildlife species. Surface water, sediment, fish, and groundwater around these facilities should be monitored to ensure that none of these contaminants jeopardize the health of the river or the health of the population that it sustains.
Many of the issues that face the Catawba River stem from development and irresponsible overusage of resources. Please join the Catawba Riverkeeper Foundation in protecting the resource that our lives depend on most.